fantasy points typically reward offense. There is a defensive position that you choose, but it's one of only several on the roster. So if you look at it, I hate to admit because we're headquartered in Boston, but Atlanta actually had a few extra fantasy points and had some bigger performances. But if you factor in the defense, I think New England's got the edge and will probably win. But I think it's going to be a great game with lots of scoring, and it could go either way. So it's going to be pretty exciting to watch.
But what about commercials coming from you, DraftKings? Are you putting marketing budget to work? Because there was a lot spent this time last year by both you and FanDuel, who you're merging with. Is that being cut back a little bit this year?
Yeah, we didn't do as much advertising this year. We've never done a Super Bowl commercial. For us, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's the end of the season, and we really like to advertise the beginning of the NFL season so we can get people to play and hopefully play for the whole season. But last year we did a tremendous amount of advertising. Last year, being 2015, last season, and then this season we did some, but not nearly as much.
And for what reason are you curtailing that back?
You know, I think last time we got some blowback that we just kind of went a little overboard, and I think people were getting sick of the commercials, and it was hard to say because we were certainly acquiring a lot of new customers, so there was a business benefit, but we felt like after such a heavy advertising year, it might make sense to not go so heavy the following season.
And now you're looking for new customers and new regions. You've got a license for Malta. You're looking into Europe. This gives you access to Germany. You're already in the United Kingdom. Can you give us a sense of how quickly you'll start to move into Europe?
So we're very pleased that we were just granted a controlled skill gaming license from Malta. And the way it works in Europe is if you're a member of the EU and you license a company, then that company can operate under that license anywhere as long as that place that they're operating doesn't explicitly have their own set of regulations. So there's a number of countries in Europe that don't actually regulate the skill gaming category explicitly. So our Maltese skill game license allows us to enter any of those countries, and Germany, naturally being the largest market in Europe, is going to be our first one after Malta.
Can you give us a date of when you go?
Going to be by end of the quarter. We're going to have an announcement soon on the exact date, but it'll definitely be by the end of Q1.
So 57 million people playing fantasy sports. Where is your market share at the moment?
Well, we're still pretty small relative to that. We have about 7 million registered users. About 40% of those customers have played pay games. So we're still relatively small, and that's one of the reasons we're so excited about the future. I think that the next wave is going to be about capturing that group that want to play with friends. Talking
about bringing in friends and the next stage, you're going to be merging with FanDuel. That is still going through antitrust regulation at the moment. Can you give us an update of where you stand in terms of that sort of regulatory clearance?
Well, we're still working to get that through the FTC, and that's something that I shouldn't probably get too into because the lawyers will get upset with me, but I can tell you that it's been really, really well received by consumers. Everybody's excited because there have been so many things that we've been asked for by our customers, things that we want to do, innovative things that I think are really going to transform the game and make it so much better and so much more exciting, and we just haven't had the resources to do it. And in the meantime, both companies have been double paying for so many things, certainly recently a lot of lawyers in that category, and it just doesn't really make sense when you know that you could be driving innovation faster, you know that you have customers that are desperately seeking experiences, and you want to get them done. That's not the hard part, is figuring out what to do. The hard part is just having the resources to execute, and what gets me excited about the potential for this merger is that we'll be able to deliver a better product to the customer than we would be able to as single companies.
Those legal fees, as doubling up as they might be needed, of course, to persuade that you won't own too much of the digital fantasy space. I mean, how much of the market would you own together? About 95% or something? Or is there not? How are you convincing that you won't be just too strong in this category?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's about 57 million people playing fantasy sports, and the majority of those people are playing on platforms like ESPN and Yahoo and CBS and NFL.com, and we're small relative to those. While the daily version of the game is relatively new and Yahoo is the only one in that group I mentioned that offers it, there's no reason that those other companies won't jump into it as soon as it gets bigger. So for us, we feel like right now with 7 million registered users, knowing that there's another 50 out there, that we're pretty small potatoes, and We want to compete with those big companies. We don't want to be a small piece of it. We want to be, a big piece of that 57 million playing, and we think we can get it even bigger. 57 is still only about half the number of people that claim to be sports fans in the United States. So there's a lot of room, I think, with innovation and coming up with new types of creative contests to be able to reach a broader and broader audience.